What is up, everybody? It is Mikey from Immortals Inc. Studios, and I have Amanda with me, aka we are the dynamic duo. And today, I believe we're talking about something related to war. I could be wrong.
It's a book called Gehenna War for the Vampire the Masquerade series.
I was a little off.
It's okay. So this is one of the newest books that just came out. We don't physically have a copy, but I do have it on PDF.
Because Carlos dropped the ball.
We don't know that for sure. But either way, I wasn't sending you to the spooky place. So I got the PDF.
If you know, you know.
Hashtag Crimson Gutter.
Yeah. Which, did that video ever come out? I think it did.
Yeah. The Book of Doom. And like Crimson Gutter, this book is worth it.
Really?
Yes.
So another worth it book.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm going to start off by saying this one is a must-have for storytellers just like Crimson Gutter.
Wow.
Now, if I had to pick between the two, of which one I would say I need more, I would still say Crimson Gutter, okay, because it's more generalized. But this one has some essential pieces for anyone wanting to embrace the whole idea of the Gehenna War that's going on in the world of darkness.
Okay.
So this is that part of it.
So it just kind of dives into that specific area of the world of darkness.
Yes.
Nice.
And it elaborates on things that they didn't have in the previous books, like Elders and Methuselahs. So what this book has for you, it's got 4 drop-in stories that are very detailed. As we have reviewed other books, it's kind of like Chicago by Night, where it's really detailed stories. And it gives you NPCs, locations, you name it. It even gives you storyline seeds. So that way you can spread the seeds of chaos.
Ooh, that sounds cryptic.
Yes, you can drop things into the story to cause conflict, which is what Gehenna War is about.
What we all live for.
Yes. There's also expanded simplification of combat and other actions. And then there is 9 new advantages and flaws. Some of them are coming back from old World of Darkness, so some people are going to be real happy there. There's 3 new lore sheets. They also have a chart for bestial fail and messy crits. There's 7 Methuselah level characters. Hard word right there.
Methuselah, yeah.
Methuselah. Yeah, imagine trying to spell it. Every card I have in here says meth.
You're like, what does she have on her note cards, guys?
Meth.
Can we track this down?
Yeah, help me. And then rules how to make Elders and Methuselahs, because you can't make them in previous books.
Oh, okay.
It just kind of alludes to they're there, but no one can play them and no one can really interact with them because they're all busy in the war.
They're too cool.
Well, they're showing that that's not necessarily true.
Nice.
With this, that some of them don't want to go to war and they're available, or you can call in a favor.
Well, sounds pretty accurate.
Or they get tired of the garbage that the current leeches in town are up to and they come and handle them.
It's fair.
Other things that it includes is diablerie flaws. You know, eating souls has a cost, so they finally put that into play. There's 19 disciplines, rituals, ceremonies, and formula. So they added more, a lot of it's stuff coming back.
Yep.
From the past. It goes over how the 14 factions are part of or opposing the Gehenna War, or opposing other groups during the Gehenna War. And then there's an expansion on weapons and the addition of legendary weapons. This book is oddly enough more useful to a hunter game than Alma Mater, which we'll cover later.
Wow.
Because of the fact that it gives so much in terms of NPCs, weaponry. Weaponry, I think, has been one of the weak sources going on in the current New World of Darkness, because there used to be an armory book and this thing called Dark Epics. And it was so expanded, so many weapons, so many things that you could do. And then they're like, here, we're going to simplify it. Here's, the damage of a heavy pistol. And it was kind of vague. They're going deep.
Nice.
So when it comes to the advantages and flaws, We have Bond of Fealty, which is a new one. It's domination without sight, so you can use a power without looking at somebody.
That's dangerous.
Enduring Bond, bonds that last longer. The blood bonds we've talked about in the past. Consanguineous Sense, recognizing your own blood. So if you run into somebody that's like a couple generations higher than you, down your lineage or even up your lineage, you can recognize the blood. Influence, being able to use your powers against people that are of your lineage. Sins of the Father, not showing the signs of diablerie. Unblinking Visage, forgetting to blink and breathe is a new flaw that they brought. Another flaw is Secret Master, where your Mala or mentor has a hold over you. Then there's another one called Blatant Diablerie, so it's obvious that you've committed diablerie. There are signs. There's a power that apparently no one decides to take anymore for Auspex, where you can tell if someone's lying and read their aura, and no one takes it, which they should.
You probably should.
I'm totally calling out all of my players for Cleveland by Night, but no one took it. And that's one of the easiest ways to tell if somebody committed diablerie.
Yeah, either that or they got some blood trickling.
Well, a lot of that's done behind closed doors. The aura will have like lines on it and be a hint that, hey, I've done the deed, I'm in trouble. And then there's another one called Inherited Bane, where you get the flaw of the clan that you diablerized. So every clan has like a bane that it's something that negatively affects them. So one example would be for La Sombra, they're my favorite. They have a problem with technology.
Ooh,
okay,
like
as their
people.
bane. They don't show up on camera and things, so it makes them obvious monsters.
Yeah.
Okay, or they're unnaturally callous.
They'd
which
be a
is the
great
alternate.
Santa Claus. Like,
Yes.
Can't catch him.
They would. So in this case, that bane, if somebody were to eat a La Sombra, they could potentially catch it like a disease. Then we have the new lore sheets. We have Beckett, which is additions in storyline and assistance from Elders and Methuselahs, just from being cool. Then you have the Eternal Arena, where you get additional combat skills from basically Vampire Fight Club involvement for entertainment.
That's
so
funny.
they do have that. And when I used to run a modified game, we actually had a thing called the Arena, where you could set terms of your duel. So I won't be surprised if that comes out as a thing, because I think a lot of the games I went to back in the day had one, but it wasn't like an official thing.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of call-outs. A lot of them.
Yes. And then Tigirius, the Vizier, is you get bonuses to negotiations because you learned or were associated with Tigirius.
Ooh, went to business school.
Yep. Then we have the 7 Methuselahs. We have Siri, which is a Toreador. And nope, not you.
Okay.
Steve Jobs, he's happy.
He's listening.
He's actually happy.
And Kidu, which is a Gangrel. Kimintri, which is a ministry member. Plague Bride, Malkavian. Shalim, Alessandra. Tiamat, Aventru, potentially. And Shulgi, which is Banu Hakim. So these are Methuselahs. I didn't want to go too much in detail because it gives a lot to how you can utilize them. Yeah. And if a storyteller's out there, they're not going to want me throwing all their business out there.
No. You gotta keep the business tucked.
But it goes over the feels and backgrounds of these Methuselahs. So it also helps you make more because you can see examples.
Oh, okay.
Now the disciplines, we have animalism, got a new level of spirit walk where you can possess an animal. Celerity and fortitude and potence all got a boost where it's a fluent version of the power. So fluent swiftness, fluent endurance, and fluent strength, all respectively, where they get a bonus of 2 dice.
Okay, that's pretty big.
Yep, because they're better at it. Then we have Dominate, which is Leith's Call. I mentioned Fortitude. Then we have Obfuscate, got 2 powers. Ensconce and Cache, which is being able to hide items from people in plain sight. or hide multiple items from people in plain sight.
Multiple. Okay.
Yes.
That's pretty unfair.
Protean, a big power came back, and I'm surprised it's under Protean, but I digress. Blood form. That was one you knew you were in trouble when you encountered that. So somebody could turn into a puddle of blood. And it's a good way to hide, and you could also like go down a drain to escape. There's also like a mist form and other things of that nature. Like you can turn to ash. I guess somebody could suck you up in a vacuum. But some of these powers were like, oh no, I've killed the vampire, and it gives them a chance to escape or reform behind you.
Yep.
This is one of them.
Nice.
Then there's Master of Forms, where they can have multiple forms of their animals. So instead of just a fighter, a flight wolf, or a bat, they can have multiple choices. The Leaf's Call has to do with swaying people. I forgot to mention that. It's a boost there. Then we have Blood Sorcery, got Blood's Curse. In terms of rituals, Blood to Water came back. That's going to be one people love. That's
Blood to
really
water.
horrible against vampires, where you can start turning their blood into water.
I would imagine that's not very, beneficial.
Yeah, it's bad.
Unless you're quenched.
And then there's Revealing the Crimson Trail, Innocence Veil, Atrocities Released, Reawakened Vigor. These are all having to do with your blood lineage and diablerie. Okay? So hiding or taking away diablerie stuff. They're really hitting diablerie hard, as well as your blood lineage hard in this book.
Yeah, it seems so.
Then they have the Ceremony of Shallow Slumber for those who use Oblivion, Lasombra. And then for your Thin Bloods, you have some new formula. We have Whiffet, Juice Box, and Beast Mode. So you'll have to read the book to see what those do.
It's very...
It's for being able to sniff out resonance, to choose your dining selection, because you get more powers from what you feed off of, and that resonance matters.
Quite creative.
Yep. So those are some of the non-combat action-related things that are in this book. So it's just like everything you can build, okay? Conversely, then we start going into actions. And one of the things that they did is they made this chart for messy crits and for bestial fails. And it's pretty neat because it goes over each of the abilities. So an example is Drive, which is my favorite ability to mess with players with. A messy crit, the beast in them would urge them to drive recklessly. So while they're good at it, they're scaring everybody in the backseat. Then you have your bestial fail, where the arrogance of the beast causes them to make a critical error, like hitting a mailbox. Or taking a turn too sharp and now the car is rolling.
Ooh.
So that's pretty cool. And it goes over like different ways to add complications. So it's a really nice chart. It goes over each of the abilities that you can take for skills. I really like that.
Yeah.
And as I had mentioned, the making of an Eldrin Methuselah, that's on page 97. So it goes over how to adjust blood potency, age, generation, deciding how they survived the Second Inquisition, which was like a big purge, vampire purge. Then on page 99 is the powers. And some of those that are really noticeable is Between the Ticks for Celerity came back. And that was a very popular power. Conditioned Loyalty also came back. They did come up with some stuff for like, there was a ritual, I remember, when I played as a Tremere, where you could remove people's hearts. Zemeis did it often. And that came back. So there's a lot going on in terms of bringing back powers from the past that were really possibly overpowered and bringing them back as either a discipline or an amalgamation that's high level.
I like that. Adds a lot of realism to the, experience too.
Mm-hmm. They also had Dreaming Mind. I don't know why I'm choking up over here. I'm not emotional. Dual form.
New VTM. You have to be emotional.
I'm always emotional. Empowering the thinning blood, the Night's Bane, lingering phantasm, merge with darkness, miles in the mind where they can do stuff over distance. Pulse of the City came back. That one was a good one with presence. Restructure. Soul Mask came back, which is an obfuscate power, and then Transcend the Flesh.
Nice.
So they're going back to the past to bring some cool stuff to the future. They also added Insect Plague, Eyes of the Sun, Vortex of Blood, Unavoidable Hunter, Witless Humanity, Shared Harm, Devouring Shadow, Never There, and Shared Strength. Dreams of Ancients and Resurgence. So that's a lot of powers that you have for Elders and Methuselahs to be able to build your baddies.
It's a lot of stuff, period.
Yep. And as I had mentioned, the factions, it's all about what their stance is in the Gehenna War, and it goes over each one of them in detail. It goes over kind of how they interact with each other as well. So it's a nice flavor add. And then we get to the Undead Armory, which is my favorite part of this book. And so it goes over rules for heavy weaponry, such as anti-material sniper rifle, which there's a spelling error. Everybody's aware of it. It's all over the Renegade Discord. They spelled material wrong.
What?
Yes. And then you have machine gun rules, rocket launcher rules. Then you have some interesting legendary weapons like the Blue Blood Blaster that uses incendiary rounds. So they call them dragon rounds, but they light on fire without jamming. So if you put those in a regular rifle, you have a higher level of jamming chances. Then they have the Scourge Blade, which if you stab somebody with it, they can't heal.
Ooh.
Yep. Troil's Blade, no surprise attacks. And then they came up with some of these lovely prototype things that could be in your game that are from the Second Inquisition, such as the Pressure Cooker, and it can turn blood inert and cause vampires to rouse check and their blood not to be able to be used.
Wow.
That would be horrible.
That would be pretty devastating.
Sunbeam, self-explanatory. It makes a weapon into a sunbeam. And then the X-Scope Rifle, which is a +2 on all your firearms when you use it.
Holy crud.
Yeah. And then there's archetypes. They expanded on some that already exist for this, so that way you could play them better and kind of see how they fit in to the Gehenna War, as well as some character concepts to flesh out with some of the new ones. Combat was simplified with a reduction quantity in terms of frenzy checks once per scene, as opposed to you could be doing it constantly during a combat. Since you haven't played yet, and you will, frenzy is a big deal. And a lot of things can cause you to frenzy, from an insult to being around blood. It can range to anything, something that gets under your skin.
Oh, so that happens already. Like if I'm around my family, it just automatically causes
lose
a frenzy.
control.
I automatically go into a frenzy.
Yep.
So I know exactly what you mean.
Consolidating your rouse checks to once per scene. So that way all their rouse check tests are all at one time. And so that way you're not just stopping every single time to do those things. So you could frenzy for a number of reasons. You could have to rouse check for a number of reasons. It just slows down combat. Okay, certain powers require you to do a rouse check. By consolidating it to at the end, or handling your frenzies like you did one frenzy check at the beginning, you're not going to keep doing it. It's over. Because you could have to frenzy check over blood, over a mortal insult. There's a number of things that could get you to go to your beast. And they're just saying, nope, it's not going to be a constant problem.
I'm keeping it tucked in.
And so when this book was brought up to me, they were like, oh yeah, it's going to make combat so much better. Yes, for everyone, because it's going to make it streamlined so we aren't splitting hairs. Because it used to be, you could be in a combat scene for hours. Hours. I don't think anyone wants to do that.
Full session almost.
Yes. There were times I actually had to run a session starting in the middle of combat because we had to end because we had like a time limit of where we could be somewhere. And I'm like, I guess we start in the middle next time. And we could be still running that combat for hours after we start up again.
Cliffhanger episode.
Yep. Hey, we do it all the time. And then, like, the layers of conflict, bringing back the feels of Old World of Darkness, backstabbing, espionage, and attacks of opportunity.
And sharp teeth.
Yes. Well, surprise attack was something that was really common in the LARP world. And as you guys are going to see when it comes back. And I think that's the reason they put that information in this book, because it's going to come back. Because I don't see it as commonly in tabletop right now, because people, I think, are hesitant to get into combat. And so sneaking up on somebody to end them, not very common. I think a lot of players are also, they play other games and the backstabbery hasn't been around in a while.
Ooh,
and so they're not ready for it. It's also got a guide to running horror, so build up through uncertainty, through release, how to direct physical versus social conflict. And it's basically, as I had mentioned in other videos, a lot of these games are about collaboration. So players and storytellers can make that decision on how they want to go about it. If they don't want to go to combat, there's ways to talk through it. And then using pace and real world time and simplifying damage. So it's not just some nightmare where somebody's describing every scratch you got. It's like, dude, it's 2 damage, move on.
Be like that sometimes.
Yep. As well as how to stoke the flames of conflict between your players. Those seeds I mentioned, there's a reason they're in there. Because sometimes your players forget that this is a game of conflict. And it's helping you bring it back in. And it doesn't have to be conflict that is going to make it so they can't be all under the same coterie. It's things that cause them to have to do something, have to take action. Not necessarily against each other, but something that brings them together. Kind of like the cards dipped in blood in the Avengers. Coulson's blood. Yeah. It's stuff like that. They have a number of these things to get them to either pull together or pull apart.
That's pretty cool.
So I would give this one a 9 out of 10. And some of the reasons it's not a full 10 out of 10 is when I heard that there's rampant spelling errors, that when you do buy the hardcover, you're going to have to download the supplement.
Oh, come on.
Okay, to get the corrections on that and some of the rulings.
Guys, can we release a hardcover with no errors?
I'm going to tell you, in this day and age, at least they're giving you the corrections.
That is true. And a full PDF, like you said, online, which we all have our own disposable. We could all go and find.
Yes. So there's ways you can go and get the answers to the weird misspellings and misrulings that happen. Every game has it, but they're being very responsible in terms of giving you access afterwards.
Okay, then I respect that.
Like I said, it's awesome. Is it Crimson Gutter? No. Is it Chicago by Night? No. But it's a definite must-have. And for a storyteller especially. A player, not so much, because sometimes with power comes great responsibility, and showing players the powers that you can get as a Methuselah and an Elder may cause them to blur the lines in terms of following the rules, trying to achieve those powers. So it's a lot of temptation. So, like I said, more of a storyteller tool, less of a player tool, because it is a lot of temptation. But if you want to see how the mechanics work and know more about the Gehenna War, it's a nice supplement.
And it's its own thing.
Yep.
So, well, there you go, guys. Thank you, Amanda, for covering all of that. If you guys have any questions, she will answer anything and everything.
Yep, and if you want any elaborations, we'll definitely do another video.
Absolutely. If you guys want any other, like you said, elaborations, new videos, this, that, whatever, let us know in the comments. And thank you all for the support. We will see you guys next time.